Hey, what's up, YouTubers? It's me, Cameron, again. Starting something new today, alright? Now, in the world of film, there are a lot of gimmicks to bring about a certain emotionality. This could be tilting a camera into a Dutch angle to give a certain uneasiness, or changing a shot to a balmy yellow to evoke a warm comfort. But one gimmick that I, for whatever demented reason, have started taking an interest in lately is the long take. Long shots have always been a trick to keep the audiences invested. But unlike the previous effects, this one isn't done lightly. This is not a cheap, easy gimmick that you can just throw in during post-production. It's one that requires much more forethought than not doing it. And if it's also a tracking shot, even scenes that are just 3 minutes long take an incredible amount of choreography, time, and planning just to attempt it once. And a director may not even like the take. And this may be why mistakes sometimes slip through, because, close enough. Do we really want to attempt all of this over again? And they can be very impressive. In fact, there are some films where the only good things about them are their long takes. The practice has even been taken on by music videos. When something like that is already so short, why not make an entire one that's a single take? But then there are the movies that want to take it even further. Movies that want to make their entire film look like one continuous shot. The films that dare to challenge what a behind-the-scenes crew is willing to put up with to create something truly impressive, whether it's appropriate or not. So, for this new series, I'm going to delve into these handful of films, half of which I'd never even heard of. So come with me, will you? But don't blink, because this is the single shot. We start the series with an arguable classic, one of the first films to ever attempt this gimmick, Alfred Hitchcock's Rope. Based off the stage play with the same name, Rope's story concerns two men who have committed murder and then hide the body in a trunk just before guests arrive. A dinner party goes on while the guests are unaware that a man they believe to be running late is right beneath their food. Brandon and Philip have done the deed as part of a notion that those who are superior have the right to kill if it suits them. Seeing themselves as superior, they decide to pull off what they call the perfect murder. Philip is panicked by what they've done, but Brandon is practically getting off on the kill, relishing the moment, and loves dropping little hints about what happened.
It isn't someone's birthday, is it? Don't look so worried, Kenneth. It's, really almost the opposite.
Then you'd like David to walk in.
Oh, no, that'd be too much of a shock.
He doesn't even bat an eye when he converses with the party guests, who include the victim's parents, who are completely unaware of the fact that their son is dead. I guess it's no surprise that Alfred Hitchcock was the first to really utilize this for style. Many people promptly told Hitchcock that shooting an hour-plus film, it's impossible. And they'd be right. Standard film reels only went to 20 minutes back in those days. So, like any great director, Hitchcock had to be clever in his delivery. But contrary to the popular notion, the film does not appear entirely as one shot. Aside from the opening credits before entering the apartment, there's a couple unmasked cuts throughout the film that are pretty obvious.
Because one of the subjects for our dinner table suddenly rebelled. Like Lazarus, he rose...
That's a lie!
Philip!
There's no word of truth in the whole story.
It's even more noticeable when you consider the treadmill effect. You haven't been seeing any breaks for 33 minutes, and then it happens, and it's like, whoa, where are we now? But as for the other breaks in filming, when a shot would end, they would zoom in on an object, obscuring the camera's entire view, so that they had a clear place they could pick up for the next shot. Still though, these were long takes in between. They basically had to rehearse this movie like they were still doing the stage play. The set they filmed on, while open on one side, was made to have false walls that could silently be rolled into place on the occasion that the camera had to capture that direction. Crew members also had to quietly move furniture and replace it for when the camera had to move through the set, and all of this plus the blocking had to be timed out and choreographed perfectly, otherwise you ruin the entire take and you have to start over. Unlike later films that don't always have a clear usage, the single shot is used to great effect here, including an agonizingly suspenseful segment where the maid is clearing the surface of the trunk. We're never that far from the trunk with the body in it, so it just stays with you the entire film. So, this makes for one great movie, am I right? Sorta. It should. But there are a few things that damage this movie's overall score, at least for me. Their reason for killing their victim is pretty mundane and illogical by many means, so there's no real fear of them getting caught. It's a case of the main characters not being the good guys, so there's this confused feeling of, Do I want them to be caught or not? They're also not blood-hungry enough that you're worried that the body being found out will result in them killing the guest to dispose of any witnesses. So it really is just a spectacle of dramatic irony, watching the guests be toyed with not picking up on hints, and watching them go about blissfully unaware while the audience knows exactly what's happened. Hitchcock's other single-set movie, Dial M for Murder, operates in a similar way, and I've just never been into suspense in movies where the audience knows 99% of what's happened. To avoid spoilers, I won't tell you whether Brandon and Philip get caught or whether they get away with it, but I will tell you that one of those two outcomes does happen and absolutely nothing else. The ending really does feel like an anticlimax to me, especially for the massive amount of tension it's been building. I first saw this movie around the time when I was reading a lot of Agatha Christie plays, which got me expecting to be a little more, some kind of twist or surprise. Weirdly enough, I honestly kept expecting them to open the trunk and for them to be like, "The body's gone!" Even though that'd be literally impossible. We've been with the trunk the entire time. Nothing could have happened without us seeing it, whatever. It tries to weave this social commentary about superiority complex, which was apparently instigated by one of the guests, played by Jimmy Stewart, and Brandon even considers telling him about their crime, thinking he might understand. But I don't know, it still feels very hard to swallow, even when the other characters make it clear that we shouldn't be taking it seriously.
Well, now, you don't really approve of murder, Rupert, if I may.
You may, and I do. Think of the problems it would solve.
Yeah, but I must confess that I really don't appreciate this morbid humor.
Well, the humor was unintentional.
But you're not serious about these theories.
Of course he is.
So you're both pulling my leg.
No, why do you think that?
Hitchcock himself was said to have looked back on this film not particularly fondly, seeing it all as just a stunt. Which is a little understandable, being that this was among the first films to achieve this. So while Rope has been undeniably influential, I really wish the subject and plotting could have been a bit more interesting. It's still a slow-burning thriller operating on minimalism, and it's done very well in that regards. And if nothing else, Rope's plot was a good setting for its single-shot use. Because in the films that follow, we'll be getting some plots that just make you say, why?